Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube, back with another Dark Shadows video for you guys and gals. And before I get going, um, first of all, Merry Christmas to everyone. Um, I just want to thank everybody who has stopped by, been a guest, been on my channel, supported the channel. Just thank you all so very, very much. I'm very, very grateful. And I'm doing 1841 parallel time here today, starting this. I'm doing by episodes, so I'm not going to do all the episodes at once. Um, Now, officially, the very first episode, for those who don't know, is 1199. But really, this this arc here, the 1841 parallel time arc, the seeds are laid. It's weird. Many are going to point to, well, the seeds aren't laid until 1840, the 1840 arc, the Judah, what we call the Judah Zachary arc, which really the Judah. I'm going to touch on a lot of things here, so I apologize. I'm not just touching on the episode itself because there's a lot to get to before you actually get into the episode, the 1841 parallel time episode itself. The real seeds to this arc, the 1841 parallel time arc, are are laid sort of during the Leviathan arc, toward when Barnabas finds the 1970 parallel time room, and the door, when he sees the book, there's a book written by William Hollinshead Loomis, and the book gets tossed. And the book is titled The Life and Death of Barnabas Collins. Well, in the book, Barnabas marries. He has a kid named Bramwell, and yes, he marries Josette. They live happily ever after, and they have a son named Bramwell. And Bramwell Collins is the character we meet in 1841. That's played by Jonathan Frid. So to me, the seeds to 1841 are more laid in way back. You know, it's not just laid in the 1840 parallel time, uh, alternate reality. And many people might point out a couple of discrepancies. You know, the 1970 parallel time room is 1970 parallel time, which is true. What you got to keep in mind is when they're with parallel time, time is not suspended. The last time continues. Okay, for example, when Julia and Barnabas come back from parallel time, it's 1995. They somehow go to 1995 because it is 1995, probably. I don't think. See, that's the thing. I don't think Barnabas and Julia time traveled to 1995 as to so much as they arrive there. They arrive in the future because it is the future, and it's a very dark future. Um, George A. Romero, like I said, he was directing Dark Shadows. No, he wasn't really, but it feels like he was. It's 1995 is a touch of George A. Romero and a touch of John Carpenter a bit. I know I'm going off the rails a bit with my discussion, but I do want to set a premise for 1841 by saying we never see we never see them going into 1971 while they're in uh, 1970. And you might say, well, why is, instead of it being 1840 parallel time, why is it 1841? And I'm sorry, I beat around the bush explaining this. I didn't mean to. It's just I sometimes talk too much. Um, as my wife would attest. But with this, the reason it's 1841 parallel time is simple. A year has lapsed. Now, when Barnabas, when Julia comes to 1840 and Barnabas, it comes 1840, it is in fact 1840 regular time. But remember, during their time, a year has lapsed. That's why before they go back, Stokes mentions to Barnabas it's 1971 in our time. And I think the reason this gets mentioned is because of two reasons. Number one, it's to let you know that Barnabas and Julia have been in 1840 a good while. I would probably say since April or May, from a storytelling standpoint. They've been there for a good while. So, and that's why he said we've been here a while. We've been here a long time, and time is not still. It keeps going no matter what, unless time is frozen. That's what, in a sense, Stokes is trying to say. So so where they're at now, it's not 1840, it's 1841. Hence, the parallel time room changed its calendar year, just like the 1840 changed its calendar year. It's no longer 1840, it's 1841. If that makes sense to you, I hope it does, because I have no other way to explain it. Um, so you first learn about the actual room itself, the 1840, the parallel time room. The first time you learn about any of the parallel times, again, is during the Leviathan arc. But you learn about this specific room, the 1841 parallel time, during the Judah, what I call the Judah Zachar arc, and Julia and Barnabas are back in 1840, and Barnabas sees the parallel time room. He sees Catherine. He he just looks like it's Angelique, but it's not. It's not Angelique at all. Um, so the first episode, like I said, it's the first actual episode of this is episode 1199. And yes, there are that many episodes of Dark Shadows. And if you can brave the venture, you can watch it all from the beginning. Or you could just skip to where I'm talking about. Season what, 7, 8, 9? I don't know. I'm old. But it's out there somewhere. So but it's episode 1199. Keith Prentice plays Morgan Collins. Jonathan Frid plays Bramwell, obviously. And by the way, Laura Parker, who's playing Catherine Heritage in this arc, is doing the voiceover for the very first episode of the 1841 parallel time story. So, do I classify this as an arc? I do, because look, I classify 1995 as an arc, and 1995 is 9 episodes only, and that's my favorite arc, by the way. I love 1995. It's terror, it's pure terror. Um, it's a scare to me. It's one of those. It's to me, it's the scariest thing Dark Shadows ever did. That's just my opinion. You can disagree with it. Um, because it's just chilling. It's just chilling to see. You never saw something like that from Dark Shadows. You never saw Colin be touched or destroyed, and it was just destroyed. The drawing room was a mess. But anyway, I digress. I'm getting off topic. But so in 1841, I said Catherine Heritage. She's gonna become Catherine Heritage Collins. Morgan proposes to her, and now her acceptance does not. What's unfortunate is that her acceptance, the proposal and the acceptance, don't come during an actual episode of the 1841 arc. They come during an episode of the Judah Zachar arc. You're more watching the 1840. people like Barnabas, Julia, Hoffman, Quentin, and Daphne are more watching the events unfold, and you do hear Morgan proposes to Catherine, and Catherine Heritage accepts. So, like I said, Catherine Heritage is played by Laura Parker. Daphne Heritage is her sister. Sorry, I'm like getting off road. Daphne is oh gosh, Daphne is Daphne Heritage, and yeah, Daphne Heritage. Sorry, she's gonna get married. Yes, there's a Gerard Stiles. Um, we have we have another Gabriel Collins. This Gabriel is not in a wheelchair, um, which I like. I like. Look, Gabriel Collins is very Roger Collins esque here in this arc. I'll say. But to be fair, I want to stick to the episode. I'm just I should just stick to who's in this episode. I will. I was just trying to name the cast, but I guess I'll do that as I go along. Gabriel is actually not in this episode, but he is mentioned. So here's who's all in this episode. You have Julia Collins. Yes, finally, finally, for the love of God, Julia is not a Hoffman. She is a Collins. She is blood of the Collins family. she's Aunt Julia. Oh my God! Just talk about making your head spin like The Exorcist. Julia's a Collins. You sure you want to be a Collins girl? Yeah, you're in for real fun, Rod. But so she's talking to Flora Collins, and keep in mind that prior to this episode, that uh, Lamar Trask has come through the parallel time into the parallel time universe, and he was stabbed by Barnabas, and Lamar Trask dies. And what do Julia Collins and Flora Collins do? Flora Collins, who's obviously played by Elizabeth Collins, yeah, Elizabeth Collins, sorry, who's played by Joan Bennett. You can tell Elizabeth's on my mind. Oh my God, folks. Gonna be a new year, gonna be the same goddamn channel. Full of goof ups. It's all good though. So yeah, Joan Bennett is playing is playing Flora Collins. Get it right. Um, so and you also, like I said, you also have Morgan Collins, who's played by Keith Prentice. You have Jonathan Frid, who's played by Bramwell, and that is who's all in this episode. You also have Melanie Collins. I almost forgot about her in this episode, who's played by Nancy Barrett. So really good episodes here. Really a really good episode. Though look, I don't like this arc personally, but I don't think it's so god awful that it should be ignored. Um I can't pinpoint to you why I don't like this. I'll probably by the end give you my reason. Um so Morgan, like I've said, he has asked Catherine to marry her. She's accepted. No, that doesn't. The acceptance um, is received with mixed reviews, especially by Bramwell. And really, Julia Collins isn't really too keen on this marriage either because she does not want a woman to be added to the list. And Bramwell's like, or sorry, Morgan's like, oh, that won't happen. She's like, why? Women can be a part of the list too. So, and what they're talking about is there's a room, a locked room that is cursed. So if any every year there's a lottery to see who goes in this room to give you what the story concept is for this arc. Usually, it's one of the male Collinses. So, out of the male Collinses, there's a Justin Collins who's the father. There's Bramwell. There's uh, Morgan. There's Quentin. There's Gabriel. So when Justin dies, they'll have to have a drawing to see whose ever name is drawn goes into the room. And in order for the person to die, they have to see the woman in white. That's how you know the lottery will begin again. And Justin Collins, he did go in the room, but there are two rules to the room. You have to stay in the room, and when you come out, you have to come out not just alive, but you have to come out sane. Um, this sounds like high school all over again. Just say, but no. Oh my god. But so Justin Collins goes into the room. No, you don't see this, but you're told that he did, and that yes, he came out alive, but he did not come out sane. He lays in a bed, pretty death ridden. He's pretty much gonna die. I mean, that's all there is to it. You do not meet Justin Collins in this episode, and I love that for this. I love how Dark Shadows was always great at building new characters. Always. Whether it be Morgan Collins, whether it be Bramwell, whether it be Julia Collins, whether it be Catherine, um, Heritage, whether it be Melanie. Uh, Dark Shadows, the writers always did a great job of getting new characters across, and they don't disappoint here. They don't. I love how Melanie is constantly mentioning Justin. So is Morgan. So is Julia Collins. It's a constant mention of the character who clearly is going to die. And I mean, look, Dark Shadows is not without its characters being killed off. Certainly, look, there's two things in short. There's two things sure in Dark Shadows. One's death, and the other is not taxes. One's death, and the other is usually the person who does die will haunt someone's ass. Um, usually, but in this case, Justin Collins, though we don't see him, we are going to see him in the next episode, which is really cool. Now, characters, again, I've talked about we meet Morgan Collins is played by Keith Prentice. He has many interactions, and one of the best interactions he has is with Jonathan Frid's character, No Shock, Bramwell Collins, um, who they're arguing over Catherine, who Catherine should love. Bramwell is in love with Catherine Heritage, who is now his brother's fiance, which uh, or that's his cousin, I should say. So at least that's implied. It's really weird how Bramwell Bramwell more treats them like cousins, so that's why I call him that. But with Bramwell, he tells Keith Prentice's character Morgan. I keep not wanting to forget his name. That he he loves Catherine. That Morgan stole Catherine from him. And Catherine tells Morgan to leave, that he wishes he would never return. And he says, "You will regret that," really good. So Catherine has seemingly made her choice. She does want to be with Morgan Collins. Bramwell, by the way, lives in the old house. I love how he slams the door in Morgan's face. I love that. Um, I've said before that Julia Collins and Flora bury Lamar Trask. By the way, they do search his pockets and find the card that says he's an undertaker, and there's no funeral home on the street that is on his card. So, and the Trask aren't Undertakers. Um, so really, really interesting how 1841 parallel time is shaping up. So they knew Novamar Trask. So, but here's the thing: they assume that the room killed him, that the room had something to do with his death. It didn't. And there was a person who disappeared who's related to the character that John Carlin is playing. Sorry for yawning. I'm getting old, so. What do I like about this episode? Because I'm trying to think. Oh, Melanie. Melanie is about to tell Catherine the truth about the room, and Julia Collins stops her. Really great scene. Melanie is like the biggest. It's sort of hard to determine who's the bigger outcast, Bramwell, Melanie, or Gabriel. There's That's my problem a little bit with this episode, with this arc. It's not that there's one outcast. There's a little too many. That's one of my biggest problems. I like the characters. I like Melanie and Bramwell. I think they're good characters, but making Gabriel sort of this cowardice outcast who doesn't want to participate in the room. Uh, and here's the thing too. Morgan Collins. The one thing I get most from this episode, if you disagree, that's fine. Morgan Collins himself, his answer isn't just to him going in the room and defeating it. He wants to get Catherine pregnant. He wants her. She'll make the house live again. He's more thinking about a contingency plan and getting Catherine pregnant so the next generation could take on this curse. That's how I always feel about Morgan. If you don't, that's fine. I hear you. I don't think he's a bad character. I just think that there's times more like I don't think he's doing it to be immoral on purpose, but I just think there's times the character's head is not in the right place. And there are characters like that in Dark Shadows. Hell, Gabriel's mind isn't in the right place. Though his mind is on his brandy and brandy is on his mind. That's Roger Collins' song too. Somebody needs to make a parody of the Snoop Dogg song. I got my mind on my money and money on my mind, but with Roger Collins, I got my mind on my brandy and brandy on my mind with, with a wine glass. Just a suggestion. Just a suggestion. You guys know you're thinking about. Oh my god. Oh my god. So again, as I said, Gabriel's not in this episode. He's in the next episode. But again, you do meet enough characters to keep you interested to get through this episode. I think it's really well written and well performed. Um, just an early complaint. It's just too many outcasts. Bramwell's sort of an outcast. Melanie's sort of an outcast. She says none of the boys like me. She can sense it. Um, because Melanie is adopted by the Collins family. What I classify that character as Victorian Winters. No, because Melanie isn't brought in to be a governess. Melanie is just brought in because she was adopted, honestly. So I wouldn't classify this character as Victoria Winters. But she is a bit Victoria Winters esque, is what I'll say. She's very easy to root for as a babyface because you do feel sorry for her. You do feel that she's alienated a bit. That you know people in the Collins family don't seem to trust her because they view her as an outsider, and that is something you get in this episode a bit. So in my view, obviously Jonathan Frid is awesome as Bramwell. he did a really good job in this episode. I'm trying to think if there's anything I missed. By the way, if I haven't mentioned, I'm pretty sure I did. The person who narrates this episode is Laura Parker. Uh, Let me give you my opinion on that. Laura Parker is talking about Barnabas, and they're showing Bramwell, and they're talking about how what Barnabas did with to Lamar Trask because of Angelique, because of Lamar Trask killing Angelique. And really, I sort of think subconsciously, and again, this is my opinion, you don't have to agree, and I don't ever want you guys to think you have to agree. I think subconsciously this is Dark Shadows introducing God as a character. And here's why I say this, because I think this is Laura Parker reading as Angelique, in my opinion. That it's Angelique that's narrating this opening. Because think about everything that Angelique did, good and bad. Could you honestly, if you're God and you're looking at this woman, for my money, you can't just send her to hell, because it's like, okay, she did sort of balance the scale here. She didn't tip it in her favor, but she did do enough to level it out. I mean, because look, she killed a kid, okay? And she's killed. She's done a lot of bad. She gave herself to the devil. She also gave herself to Judas Zachary. She's done a lot of bad, but she's also done a lot of good. She saved Barnabas countless times. She saved the Zast. She saved Quentin. She's helped them. She risked her life. So God can't send her to hell, but in the same sense, He can't lift her up to heaven, because she hasn't. She's done good, but she's done just as much bad. So, like I said, the scale's a bit balanced. It's like even. Like, okay, I could put you demon and I could put you in purgatory, and that's where I'm going to put you. I'm not going to send you to hell. You don't belong with the devil no more. You belong in purgatory. And whether you get another chance or not, well, we'll see. But I think his first thing is, okay, you have to watch over the Collins family as a spirit. Just watch over them. You can't interfere. You just have to watch their lives unfold. And he puts her in the 1841 parallel time. That's just my opinion. If you disagree, please do. I'm sure people are. But good episode. Again, I don't love the arc personally, but the episode is good. I don't think any of these episodes are bad. I just personally don't like the arc, because I think there's too much. Like I said, there's too much people to go, well, that person's being treated like an outcast. That person's being treated. There's too many outcasts. Um, and again, it's just to me, in my opinion. So the episode is really, really good. It ends when Keith Prentice's character is walking back from the old house, and he sees the woman in white. And when you see the woman in white, it means that the person who was in the room is going to die in the lottery. The lottery is going to start again, is basically what they're hinting at. So that's my episode. That's my review a bit. Again, I'm not going to review. I'm not going to give too much of a review. I'm more giving an overview and just talking about how I feel about things. So I guess I'm reviewing it. I don't know. I'm going crazy. God, dude, God. Okay, I'll do seriousness before I send off here. From my family to yours, from the Saints family to all your families. Have a Merry Christmas. Enjoy the holiday. Stay warm if you're on the East Coast, and just be safe. God bless you. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night, and I'll see you. Well, tomorrow night I'm going to try to do a read along on Christmas Eve. So I know I did this video a day early, so because it's not quite Christmas Eve yet. So, but have a Merry Christmas, and God bless you all. Thank you. Bye bye.